welcome back to Football Picks here at TalkingSports.tv. I'm Marty York, along with our sensational handicapper, Uncle Ben Walderman from UncleBen'sFootball.com. And Uncle Ben, we've been through your NFL thoughts for the wild card weekend, and it's time to take a look at a couple of the remaining bowl games. And the biggie that everyone's talking about, of course, is the Florida State-Auburn game, the BCS championship game in Pasadena on Monday. Before we get to that, however, I know there's another bowl game that has piqued your interest, and it involves a couple of pretty good teams as well, Clemson and Ohio State. This is the Orange Bowl in Miami on Friday night, and Ohio State is favored by 3 points. The over-under at this time is 69.5. Your thoughts about this game, Uncle Ben?
Well, Marty, we've been rolling on pretty good in the bowl games. We're 9-5 so far. There is about 5 or 6 more to go. I only like 2 games, like you said. This is one of them. Obviously, there's the BCS championship game. We're going to get to that momentarily. This game, the Orange Bowl, obviously one of the storied bowl games of all times. And you got a couple pretty good teams here. Ohio State let down. They had national championship aspirations. They lost the Big Ten championship game to Michigan State, so now they're playing in the Orange Bowl against Clemson, who looked pretty good this year, except they got blown out by Florida State, 51-7 or something like this mid-season.
Yes.
There's been some suspensions. We talked about the bowl games, Marty. Sometimes it's hard to get a handle on these games. Coaches change. Kids get, they have 3 weeks off. Emotional levels on one team are low, the other team high. Players get suspended. And, there are some suspensions in this game on the Ohio State defensive side of the ball. 2 secondary starters are not going to play. Their starting defensive end apparently got suspended just in the last 24 hours. I just see a lot of points in this game, Marty. I know that Clemson's got a high-powered offense. Taj Boyd, Sammy Watkins is going to be probably the number 1 receiver in the nation. You'll have a look at him in this game. He's going to be the top receiver picked in the NFL draft come this April. And on the other side of the ball, Braxton Miller, quarterback at Ohio State, also a very gifted athlete who can move the ball, and he might be playing on Sundays one day as well, although he's coming back, I believe, next year for a senior year. And the Ohio State Buckeyes back in the national championship chase again, probably. But Urban Meyer now knows his defense, so he's going to be starting a couple of guys, 2-3 players that just didn't play all the games this year. Their defense was not a typical Ohio State defense anyway this year.
Yeah.
They're, outscoring people. But now Urban Meyer knows that he's playing against a high-powered offense with a depleted defense on his side of the ball. I think he knows he's going to have to score a lot of points in this game to compete with the Clemson Tigers, who typically do score a lot of points. DeBo Sweeney's group do, with Taj Boyd at the helm. And I just like the over 69.5 here. I see a very entertaining, high-scoring game here, Marty. I don't really have a leaner on the side, but based on what I just said, with the weak defenses on both sides and the high-powered quarterbacks on both sides, I like over 69.5. I think this game will be crack that number easily, Marty. I say put something down on over 69.5 in the Orange Bowl come this week. I think it's Friday evening.
Sounds good to me. Monday evening, Uncle Ben, the BC Championship takes place in Pasadena. This is the grand finale. This is the game that most college enthusiasts care about the most. And Florida State, at last look, was an 8.5-point favorite over Auburn. How do you see this game shaping up?
Well, Marty, this is a very sexy matchup. I say, the SEC, obviously the best conference in the land, playing against the champions of really one of the most overrated conferences in the land. But the Florida State Seminoles have looked dominant this year. There's no question about it. They're favored in this game by 8.5 points. There's plenty of good things. I mean, they just dominated about the Florida State Seminoles. They just dominated everything this year on offense. They were the only team, by the way, to win the stats, out-yard their opponent in every game this season in the FBS, and they won. I think they averaged close to 52 points a game, Marty, this team this year. But they haven't really played the good teams. Okay, like this year, you look at some of the teams they played, and I have that here. Let me just get that out. And I'm not lying when I say this, and I'm not making this stuff up.
You never do.
Like Nevada, Bethune-Cookman. I'm not making this up. Bethune-Cookman. Maryland, North Carolina State, Miami of Florida, who just got blown out in their bowl game by Louisville, Wake Forest, Syracuse. These are not really good ball teams, Marty. And the two teams they did play that were good, Clemson, they blew out, right? And Boston College, they actually were their two tough games, and Boston College just got blown out in their bowl game, by the way.
Yeah.
So, I don't really take a lot of credence in that, whereas Auburn's played the likes of Mississippi State, who just blew out someone in their bowl game, LSU, who won their bowl game, Mississippi, who won their bowl game, Texas A&M, who won their bowl game, Georgia, who lost their bowl game, and they also played the Alabama Crimson Tide, by the way, and they beat them. So, the scheduling, it was a lot harder in the SEC than it is in the Florida State's ACC. Then you look at the spreads. By the way, they also have a Heisman jinx. Jameis Winston won the Heisman Trophy. And you know that Heisman teams since 1980 who play in bowl games, Marty, are 11-21 against the point spread.
Really?
So just an interesting little Heisman jinx there. Going against the Florida State Seminoles there. What else do I got here? Then you got to look at the Auburn Tigers roared this year. They're 7-0 against the spread. All right. Versus teams with winning records this year. And in all those games, by the way, they were the underdog. Guess what, Marty? They're the underdog again this week. I'm leaning towards the Auburn Tigers here. I just think when you're playing in the best conference in the land, the SEC, and you're playing a schedule with that type of difficulty each week in and week out against strong defenses, okay, and they run the ball better. There's no better running team in the nation. This is a perfect matchup. The high-powered, it's kind of like when the New York Giants played the Buffalo Bills back in Super Bowl, whatever it was, when Scott Norwood missed that pick.
Wide right.
K-gun, they were scoring all these points every week, 40 points in the NFL. They were just rolling it up on everybody. Kind of like what Florida State's been doing. In come the New York Giants, coached by Bill Parcells. Pound the ball control, play solid defense. Don't turn the ball over. This is what Auburn does. Okay? Manage the clock. Now, their head coach, Gus Malzahn, by the way, who could be the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns, by the way, has unbelievable stats as a head coach. The Auburn head coach has a track. He's 14-1 straight up off a conference game, 14-1 straight up and against the spread off back-to-back wins, and 10-2 straight up and 10-1 against the spread versus winning opposition. This guy, when they play good teams, the Auburn Tigers, or Gus Malzahn's coach teams, even when he was at Arkansas State before he came to Auburn, this guy can coach it up against the good teams. He knows how to get it done. But here's the one thing that is a 100% stat, Marty, is never lost. Bet on an SEC team that plays in the BCS championship game when they're playing a non-SEC team. 8-0 since 1999, Marty. 8-0, 100%. I like the Auburn Tigers plus the 8.5 points to be in this game all the way, possibly win this game. I don't see a blowout here by the Florida State Seminoles. I say take the Auburn Tigers in the BCS championship game plus 8.5 points in Pasadena, California.
All right, there you are, folks. That's your final pick from Uncle Ben on the college football season. He is saying go ahead and get the points with Auburn. Pick up the 8.5 and take Auburn over Florida State in the BCS championship. And he also suggested that if you want to take a little something on the Clemson-Ohio State game Friday night, go over. It looks like this game's going over, Clemson and Ohio State. Uncle Ben, great stuff. I mean, you had a fabulous college season. You had a great NFL season, too. We'll see how you do this weekend on your NFL picks. And we'll look forward to getting together again next week and checking out your NFL playoff picks for next week. In the meantime, once again, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to all our viewers of Football Picks here on TalkingSports.tv. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll see you next week. I'm Marty York saying so long and have fun.